$2,000 a month a room. A month, a room. 2,000. Life is good. Life is good. My name is Alexander Kalinin and welcome back to my channel. Last video we talked a little bit about why I'm doing these videos, the time I took away from making videos, and now that I'm back, I want to create content that is valuable to you and hopefully inspires you to take action. So this weekend I was meeting with some friends and we started talking about having roommates. That's the topic I want to dedicate this video to, which started with roommates, and you'll see where it ends up. So we were talking about having roommates. I'm historically a huge proponent of roommates. Ever since I lived in the dorms, I had roommates. I moved out, I had roommates. I lived with a lot of friends. A lot of friends live with me. Yeah, I'm a huge fan personally, because the way I see it is eventually you'll reach a point where you're gonna live alone. So you're gonna live alone, and that will be until you get married, have kids, etc. And living alone, for those of you who do live alone, like it very much, I'm sure. That's something that I've experienced partially. When I first bought this house, I had 2 roommates move in with me. They deployed almost immediately after. So maybe, I think they spent the holidays here or something and then deployed immediately after. So they were gone for 6 months. So I lived here all alone. And I will say, living alone is nice. At first it's kind of weird, because like I said in the past, I always had roommates. And then I realized that that was something that I shouldn't spoil myself with personally, because if you live with roommates and you don't want to have roommates, you will have a hard life. If you don't get along with them, if you don't enjoy living with this other person, you will not have a good life. I didn't want to get used to living all by myself, and then my roommates come back and me not wanting them here, etc. That's a story at which I'm still riding this roommate wave, and I started talking to my friend about it over the weekend. They were deciding, it's a couple, they have a nice big home, and they were deciding whether or not they want to have roommates. My philosophy is, you have a big home, I just don't want stuff to go to waste. So that's why I always wanted people to enjoy it, come over, have parties, have roommates, just everybody enjoy this space. I got really fortunate, I got lucky, so I don't want it to go to waste. So I'm talking to my friend, and as I explain my story, they want to dabble into it. They don't know if they want to have roommates, if they don't want to have roommates. For those of you who have roommates, know that it can be challenging if people don't clean up after themselves, leave a mess, parking. These are issues that I have dealt with in the past, but as you mature as an individual, and as you mature as a roommate, and as your roommates mature as individuals, as roommates, it all comes together. So these people want to dabble into having roommates. They don't know. They want to avoid all the things I just mentioned. I suggested something that I did, and that's actually a decision that I made to feel it out, which then led to an even bigger picture, an even bigger resolution, even bigger project, much bigger than I initially anticipated. I bought the house in 2019, plenty of space, like I said. I had 2 roommates. They were occupying 2 bedrooms. It was my bedroom, and then there was 1 extra bedroom. Like I mentioned earlier, I also didn't want to get used to not having roommates, but people are occupying these rooms, their stuff is there, they're paying rent. I decided to do something part-time in order to occupy my last bedroom. So my last bedroom, it was completely unoccupied, unfurnished, it was just a room. And I don't know about you, but frequently, if I have a space just sitting there, I typically fill it with junk. And knowing me and what my garage looked like at the time, I knew that I would soon end up with a bunch of car parts, old uniforms, t-shirts that I didn't want to throw away from 5Ks I ran back in high school sweaters, I don't know, different kind of memorabilia, junk, wheels, tires, steering wheels, bumpers. So that's something I wanted to avoid. I also didn't want to spend money on furnishing it, because it was just a room. Anyway, let's not get distracted here. Another sip of coffee. Boy, life is good. I have a spare room. I have 2 roommates occupying my rooms upstairs. They're not here. It's just me in the house. I decided to turn to Airbnb. For those of you who don't know this, Airbnb actually has a section in there at which you can rent out rooms. I found this out very in passing. I didn't know there was a thing, and then I didn't know it was a big thing. So I ended up furnishing a room. It was beginning of spring training. Around spring. Stupid. It was spring, around spring training. I had to rush. So as soon as I made up my mind, I had to hurry up because I didn't want to spend all this time thinking about it, deciding whether or not I want to do it, I don't want to do it. I'll talk about this on my channel further, but frequently we think so much that we end up taking no steps. Or if we do take a step, it's already too late. What's that about? Anyway, what I ended up doing is I had to hurry up and get it going. I made a decision on Friday or so because I still work full time, to have it done over the weekend. So on Monday, it can go live. I went and offer up. I found a bedroom set, an IKEA bedroom set, bed, 2 nightstands, something like that. Then I went to Ross, picked up a chair and a desk. It's a small folding table. I just thought it would be useful if somebody rented a room. I know how I am when I go to hotels. I expect there to be a desk so I can have a laptop, get some work done. Back when I was in college, it was very, very important for me to have a desk so I could sit down and work on my papers at any moment. For those of you in school know this, or they've been in school know this. Bought a desk, bought a chair, bought, a painting for the wall. I had an extra TV. Boom, boom, boom. Quickly took pictures with my smartphone. I try not to overthink it because I tend to fall in that trap. I'm sure some of you do too. You want it to be so perfect that you end up making no progress again. First you thought about making a decision, then you made a decision, then you wanted to have the best photos, then you want to have best furniture. You just get caught up in this rut, which all prevents you from taking action. Didn't even have an Airbnb account. Registered on Airbnb, listed it. Boom, Monday it went live. I think Tuesday I had people checking in for a week. Somebody moved in for a week. They were paying, I think, at a time, $70 a night. $70 a night for a room? I mean, you can do the math there. People moved in. It was some guy who worked, my first experience was some guy who worked construction or something like that. It was one of those people who he came from either out of state or a smaller town. He drove his pickup. He was at work all day. Did not see him. I met him when he first checked in. I showed him around how to use a shower, coffee maker. So this is your room. He left his boots outside, and that's the only thing I've ever seen from him. I would come home late at night or early. He would leave his boots outside, and that's the only thing I ever knew that he existed. We interacted very minimal. And that's okay. That didn't bother me whatsoever. I was at work, he was at work. He would come home after me. I would leave for work before him. I would leave for work around maybe 4 or 5 a.m. He was still sleeping. I'd see his boots. Boom, come back, don't see him. Basically, we had on opposite schedules. What led to this decision making was this. Furnishing the room cost me roughly maybe $200, $300. And when you first make an investment like that, you're like, wow, I'm $300 short now. Is this gonna pay out? Did I waste my money? This is stupid. You deal with doubts, and what do you do about those doubts? Again, action. You just gotta act. You act and you see if the results pay out. So I told myself, it cost me $300 to furnish the room. I will see if it plays out. One person can move in. If I don't like it, I'll never do it again. Never. That's it. That first person who checked in, I don't know if you did the math already, but they paid for that entire room and then some. So now, after first guest, I was left with not only a fully furnished guest bedroom, I also had some pocket change. As soon as you get your first paycheck from Airbnb, for those of you who want to start Airbnb, as soon as you get your first paycheck from Airbnb, you will know that you intend to continue doing this. My friend was trying to get into it, and he was all worried. Oh, I don't know. I said, hey, list it, get paid one time. If you hate it, quit. Needless to say, they've been doing Airbnb for the last 2 years. After that first guest in my spare bedroom, they just kept on booking one after one. Boom, 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 boom. It was spring training. Rooms were in high demand. I'm a pretty social person. I didn't mind talking to people. I also don't mind giving people their privacy. So people were coming in one after another. Boom, 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 boom. As soon as my third or fourth guest checked out, boom, coronavirus. I'm sad, my business, what are we doing here? So I decided, it was coronavirus, so I decided to kind of pause it for a little bit because people weren't in high demand. We didn't know what coronavirus is all about yet, how serious to take it. So I took it down, paused it. See, that's the beauty of it. You can pause it anytime. You hate it, you pause it. When you're ready to open it, you open it again. So coronavirus, we established some ground rules. You all remember this time. Some ground rules were established, what should be done, what shouldn't be done. Airbnb released a long list of policies for extra cleaning, for extra precautionary measures, for extra guest interaction, all of those things. Now, you had to list that your cleaning was up to the standards. Obviously, Airbnb takes cleaning very serious. At that point, it had to be disinfected, all the coronavirus rules, obviously, which Airbnb actually stuck with, and I'm happy because nobody wants a dirty Airbnb. As soon as we got some clarity, those new rules came out, people start Airbnb-ing again. And needless to say, I don't know how long you've been in the Airbnb game or how much you heard about it, but coronavirus actually made Airbnb blow up. People were stuck at homes working and they just wanted to change scenery. So they started to travel, rent out Airbnbs, villas. You could work from anywhere. So they would work from anywhere. Those who wanted variety and wanted to maintain their sanity would travel because they had that opportunity. For the first time, perhaps. I opened my Airbnb room back up, I think around that summer. I was pretty comfortable with having people over. And then people moved in almost right away. Somebody booked for, I think, 2 months. Beauty with Airbnb is you can alter your stays. You can allow overnight stays. You can allow 2-night minimum, 1 week minimum, 1 month minimum, whatever. And then it was people were moving in. Like I said before, I'm a social person, so I'll be friends with these people. We'd go out, have drinks. We'd go out, have dinner. We'd hang out. I actually had a person stay here who was going to a BMW mechanic school. I have a BMW, for those who've seen it on the channel. It's not new, it needs a lot of maintenance. And he was like, oh, I need practice. Why don't I just take it in and have it worked on? It was a good time. I'm really happy I did it. It was between my roommates' deployments, between different transient roommates I had, people who, for example, move bases or move in, or some friends needed a place to crash. It all worked out very well because Airbnb was so flexible. So it was perfect formula for me. That was how I got into Airbnbs. My full Airbnb journey I will be addressing in a separate video. It is a lengthy one. I'll go into all those little things in detail. That was the story for me. So how I went from having roommates to having part-time roommates that were ultimately more flexible and frankly paid more. So let's summarize a little bit. Kind of keep it short. Let's summarize a little bit what we talked about today. Started with roommates. You want to have roommates, you don't want to have roommates, you're not sure. I recommend start Airbnb. List your spare bedroom, get paid one time, have one guest, and if you hate it, never do it again. If you have a really, really bad experience, it might be worth a shot. Contact me, I'll walk you through it. So that's number one. Start it, see how you like it. B, people ask, Alex, aren't you scared to let people into your house? Your stuff will get stolen. Aren't you afraid for, your safety? I would say it's crossed my mind. And what do I do about it? First of all, I keep my bedroom door locked. Rooms I don't want people in, I lock them with a key. Not hard. Valuable things, very valuable things. I have, for example, wine collection out in the public. I put some bottles away. It's not hard. And most importantly, Airbnb does everything to protect their hosts. I'll talk about it in a different video again. But something that needs to be understood is if it wasn't for hosts, there would be no business, no Airbnb. Meaning, Airbnb has to favor the hosts, has to take all the steps to protect the hosts, all the steps. And this goes beyond monetary value like compensation for damages. What I'm talking about is people who book have to provide their passport information, credit card information, social security number, all lengthy, detailed list, and not to mention their privilege of using Airbnb as the future customer. So let me ask you this. If somebody wanted to rob you, would they book an Airbnb with all that information on there? Unlikely, unlikely. Or if people wanted to do you harm, they would probably just do it, not put their credit card and passport information in the app and then try to do you harm. So that protected me. All those factors that I just mentioned kind of put my mind at ease because I was initially concerned, but that's where I recommend people do it through Airbnb, so that way people can be A, held accountable, and B, be reliable in terms of having their accurate information. You didn't just find some John Doe on Facebook Marketplace who wants a room for $350 a month. Different. This is a credible source of customers. Something very important, something you must understand. Number 3 is the payout. I think at its highest, I was making my one room, which I ended up having 2 because how well it was performing. I had 2 rooms at a time. It ended up making $2,000 a month a room. Are you kidding me? A month, a room, $2,000. So for those of you who have mortgages or rent, you can do the math, how far that will carry you. It's minor inconvenience having people in your house. To me, it was a minor inconvenience. Didn't bother me people use my kitchen. Didn't bother me if somebody drank my beer. I just say, buy me a new one. Not hard. Parking, I give them clear instructions where to park, clear instructions to the room. If they have a key, I give them a key. Change the code for all the guests or give the guest separate key. That's it. Very easy. And last, D, is you have to understand that Airbnb is very flexible. For example, I have a guest in for a week. They check in, they check out. If I want new guests, I leave it open. It continues to book. If I don't, for example, I have family coming into town, I have my roommate's family coming into town, or I don't feel like dealing with it. I know that I'm gonna be on the trip and I won't be able to do the turnover. Cleaning is something that I do myself. Very easy. Cleaning 1 bedroom and 1 bathroom is not hard. So that's something that I do myself. And if I know, for example, that I have a guest in for a week, then that weekend, say I'll be out of town. A guest can very easily check out on their own. And if I know that I won't be able to clean before the next potential guest moves in, I just block it until further notice. I block it until further notice. I get back into town. I clean it. Next guest moves in. Smooth sailing. So those are the 4 important points that I personally benefit from Airbnb. I think 4 important points that you need to understand before you start Airbnb your spare space. So if you are thinking about having roommates, or if you're thinking about breaking into Airbnb, consider what I said seriously. And like I said before, you try it, you hate it, never do it again. No harm, no foul. For me, that was a great initial stepping stone to future Airbnb success, which I will talk about in the next video. Stay tuned for that. We will discuss my Airbnb journey from beginning to end. And maybe it'll inspire you to once again get into Airbnb full-time. In the meantime, I hope you learned something, got some good knowledge. I hope I answered the question whether or not you should have roommates or how you should go about all that. And I hope that it inspired you to take steps that lead to action. Don't just sit on this. Think about it. Don't think too long. Don't think too hard. Make up your mind. Do it. Just do it. The name of this game, as any other games, is action. You have to act. If you take it serious, if you're serious about it. If you're watching this video for informational purposes only, I hope, again, that you learned something, and I hope that this video left you inspired. Ciao. Part of the ritual. It was close. I was, we shall be probably talking about it. I forgot. My name is Marabar. Barabar. Barabar. I had two roommates move in with me.